Welcome back, guys, to another installment of GuruTalk Underground, which I think I made the show specifically for our good friend Tony Huge, who's here with Elon Muscular and Straight Cody. And we're going to be talking about your Mass Blast program, or I should say challenge that you have out there, where you're going to be giving one of these guys sitting behind you $5,000 for whoever can gain the most weight in 9 days. Is that correct?
That's right, Dave. And who better to talk about this than with you, who was a mass monster in your time. Probably have some good tips for these competitors to help them put on as much mass as possible.
You know, people hate when people love these shows I do with you, and they hate you at the same time for doing these shows, but they can't stop watching it. And I love the creativity that you have. And, you know, like I always tell people, no one wants to see anyone do anything irresponsible, but 9 days, no one's doing any damage to themselves. So let me know, what's the protocol, first of all, before we get into the details of how each person is doing. Give me your protocol that you laid out for them, because I know it's broken down into 2 blast phases.
Yeah, so it's 3 days of blasting, 1 day rest, 3 days of blasting, 2 days rest, 3 days of blasting. It's a total of 9 blasting days and 3 rest days for a total of 12 days. So we weigh them in at the beginning, weigh them in at the end. And it's mainly around growth hormone and insulin pathways. It's less about the steroids. We're trying to create the muscle cell hyperplasia. We're trying to mutate their bodies. And then later they can take more steroids and solidify it. But it's mainly as much growth and insulin as they can handle for a short period of time.
Right. So what the idea is that the steroids make the cells get bigger, which we call hypertrophy, versus hyperplasia, which would be what, you know, growth hormone IGF-1 would do to the cells, which is to take stem cells, essentially, or we used to call them satellite cells, and differentiate them into muscular cells. And then down the road, those cells will get larger too. So we're trying to increase genetic potential here. Now, let's talk to Elon first. Elon, what did you start out at when you first started this challenge? What was your weight at? What was your body composition approximately?
So my body composition was about the same, just less muscle or water in the muscle, however you want to put it, right? We're not sure. We'll see at the end of the days when we re-examine my before and after pictures, but I was about 205 pounds, 93 kilograms when we started. Okay. I was on a cycle, 600 tests, 600 EQ, and 75 milligrams of tren every other day. Right. So I was coming in already on a cycle, and then we just bumped up the growth hormone and insulin from there. Okay. So you pretty much stayed on this. So the cycle is pretty much testosterone and trenbolone. Is that what an EQ? Is that what everyone's doing? Yeah, just a normal cycle. That's what I was doing before. And then we introduced the growth hormone and insulin to get the extra weight and hyperplasia. We'll talk about that in a minute. Well, yes.
Well, Dave, we all started on tren, and I made it a rule of the competition, no more tren, because these guys started actually fighting. Oh, no way. I started fighting with my girlfriends too. And I said, you know what? In 6 days? You only been doing it 6 days. In 6 days, you were that bad? It was bad.
We started taking tren just before.
Oh, yeah, we loaded it the week before, and then we put in tren suspension, and that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Now,
I didn't even know they had tren suspension. How does that work? I mean, because tren is not really absorbable orally, but what's the composition of tren? Is it like just a free tren ester?
It's just pure tren with no ester, so it only lasts like 6 hours, like same as test suspension. Wow. And it's water-based. And actually the injections weren't very painful, right?
Really? Okay.
Not bad.
How fast do you feel it when you take it? Because that's something I never tried back in the day.
We take it pre-workout, and by the time we get to the gym, it's 45 minutes later, we already feel it for sure.
Yeah, really? And is it like, because it's raising androgen levels so fast and so high, because a lot of people don't realize trenbolone is like 4 times more androgenic than testosterone. I have to imagine like you want to like rip people's heads off when you probably get there, right?
Sure. Yeah. How did you guys feel on it?
Yeah, extreme anger, extreme strength. I would say that my strength went up probably 10 to 20%, like right there acutely during the workout. And just the way I felt like I was on MDMA. But
really?
Like an angry version.
Wow.
Like instead, take the good feelings and make them angry
Wow.
instead.
Tony, you didn't mix any like MDMA in with their Trenbolone, free
Negative.
phase.
No.
All
right. For all the drugs I do, I actually don't, deal with some things like Coke or MDMA.
No, that's not something. Well, I figured MDMA might be in the realm of, because I know you were experimenting the last time we spoke with more of the hallucinogenics, and psychedelics.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well,
he was taking 75 milligrams of tren suspension. Cody and I were taking 50 milligrams of tren suspension pre-workout. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Think about it. Most people take 50 to 75 of. Well, they probably take more than that, but 50 to 75 of the tren acetate. This is like way faster. So I'm assuming the amplification effect is probably way higher. But do you guys notice a crash like 8 hours later? Do you come down off that a little bit?
Just tired.
I didn't. The next day, I felt like maybe a little bit of extra inflammation, but I think maybe it was because I overtrained because I was so amped up off the tren suspension.
Yeah, I would imagine you don't want to get hurt probably either.
It kind of feels like adrenaline a little bit. That's like it kind of gets you got to get amped up and energized, and then afterwards you feel tired because you kind of used up all your energy.
Right. Did you guys happen to test like blood pressure on that tren water base?
I didn't test it specifically from the tren suspension, but we are testing our blood sugar frequently during the blast because that's the most important thing. Blood sugar, blood pressure, and blood pressure goes way up on the blast.
Yeah, that's
there's a lot of
Trenbolone raises blood pressure, definitely, too. Mm-hmm. So I was just wondering what maybe the difference might have been between tren acetate versus say a tren water base, in terms of blood pressure.
It's a good idea for a future experiment.
Yeah,
all right, you guys are authorized. Tren for that.
Yeah, I love Trenbolone, but I worry sometimes that it does raise people's blood pressure a little bit. The old back in the 90s, people said, don't take tren, it's kidney toxic. It really is not. The only thing that breaks down steroids is the liver, but it can be dangerous to the kidneys now we know because it raises blood pressure. So I think that's where that comes from. All right, so we got a basics. You're all pretty much on the same amount of steroids. Now you're doing this little challenge because you wanted to get your size back after COVID. Is that right?
Yeah, but wait, Dave, you said we're all doing the same steroids. So originally we were, but then I announced the competition right before the blast. And then Cody decided that he was just going to take the most amount of steroids that a human can take. And I, at first I was like, this is a terrible idea. Number one, it's not going to give us the information we need scientifically to know how to improve this blast. But then I thought, well, this could be interesting. I wonder what happens when someone takes, the maximum amount of all of this stuff. So he massively increased his dosages.
What's your dosages, Cody, right now? Because you started at 165, you're already at 190. So that's like, that's 25 pounds right there. So what are you taking right now?
Well, first of all, I front loaded with I just took a whole vial of tests. So 3 grams. Just the first day. 3,000
milligrams. 3,000 milligrams in one day.
What day? Milligrams per ml, 10 ml.
Yeah.
What day was this?
That was, I think it was like the first day, or the second.
So that's about a week ago?
What's that?
So that's about a week ago?
Yeah. And then the day after I took 1.5 and then I took 1 gram after that.
Oh, wow.
And then I took a gram today as well. So... And then aside from that, I'm taking 30 units of growth and 100 mgs of MK677. And then I start the day with...
let me stop you for a second. You're taking 30 IUs of GH. That's a lot of GH, obviously. Do you notice any tingling in your hands or any kind of side effects from that?
Oh, yeah. Like my feet were swelling up like a hobbit.
Now... this test you just took like a week ago, it hasn't even hit you. We should do another interview with him in 2 weeks when all that testosterone actually really kicks in and really hits you full force. Now, the 30 IUs is I understand you guys are doing a blast. So you're doing it over a short period of time. Why would you even do the MK or any kind of GH releasing peptide with all the GH you're taking?
Yeah, the MK is for appetite increase.
Okay, I got you. Do you guys find that your appetite's been blunted from all the drugs you're taking or no?
Actually, my appetite's been blunted from all the food I'm eating.
What's a diet? What's a typical day of eating like for you guys now?
Well, I wanted him to keep it really clean, and I wanted him to also have a lot of liquid diet. Make a lot. Look, this is like I drink these all day, you know, protein smoothies and carbs in it and everything else. But another deviation from the traditional protocol, Cody went for the McDonald's diet.
That's the Palumbo diet. Yep.
Yeah, McDonald's twice a day and candy and cake and tons of cereal. But I'm also eating chicken and rice, but like very flavorful, like Indian food.
Right. Well, you know what? Normally I'd say that's ridiculous, but I have to say it's brilliant in this challenge because you're trying to win $5,000, which means you want to gain more weight than Elon is, right?
Bingo. Yeah. And that's why the high test too. I want to put out as much water as possible.
Now, the GH, I don't even know how you're taking that much GH without having, you know, crazy side effects. Do you notice, are you spreading it out throughout the day, or are you taking all 30 IUs at one shot?
I take 15 in the morning and 15 at night.
Okay, I got you. You don't have any trouble sleeping with the drop in your blood sugar or anything like that?
No, my blood sugar has actually been really high, even with like 200 Lantus, and I'll take like 80 to 100 rapid with each meal.
Wow.
So about 5 times a day.
Wow. So when you say high, what's your blood sugars running?
It was like 300 one night.
Whoa.
Yeah. But that was before I noticed like those days is when I eat like really dirty, like a lot of sugar.
Right.
If I eat mostly just like oily carbs, like French fries and meat,
right,
like it's lower. So like fasted in the morning, like today it was like 130. But yeah, sometimes when I eat that sugar, even with the high dose of Lantus and rapid, like it'll go up to 220.
Wow,
around.
That's pretty high. Yeah. That's pretty high. It really shouldn't get up there. I mean, how many calories do you think you're eating a day?
Realistically, probably between 6,000 and 7,000 calories a day.
I'm surprised your blood sugar is going up that. I guess it's probably from the 30 I use of GH. That's more than likely what's doing it.
Yeah, I'm probably eating more, Tony said.
Because, you know, if you have so much GH around, even the insulin just can't get to the receptor, even though you have a lot of insulin, you know.
Exactly. Same with the MK, like high dose MK, high dose GH, like it's just not really getting in. So I got to use more.
But I've done this blast so many times and I've never seen someone's blood sugar go this high before. Right. So I thought, oh my gosh, he maybe has some form of diabetes, maybe he's type 2 diabetic, or maybe just metabolic syndrome, you know, lost insulin sensitivity. So I brought him to the lab and I tested his hemoglobin A1C and it was 5.6, which is a little high, but that's in the normal range still. So
yeah, but
I think it's just the protocol.
Yeah, I think it's the protocol. You know what? My insight into this would be, especially because it's a short period of time, I think the GH is almost a waste because it's making you so insulin resistant that you can't even absorb all the food that you're eating. If I was doing it for not only 9 days, you're not going to notice any growth from GH. I would just take the insulin and slam the Milos protocol, slam the insulin with the carbs, you know, and the protein. Like Tony said, probably a lot of liquid meals. I think you'd probably absorb more. I think you're probably inhibiting the absorption of a lot of your food, and you might actually be limiting your growth in a sense.
That's a good point, especially with the super high dose.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you could take like 4 or 5 IUs of GH, but I think any more than that, you're not going to absorb your food, which is what's happening while your blood sugars are so high.
Yeah, good point.
What are you doing, Elon? How much GH and how much insulin?
I did 15. We wrote 15 in the first few days of the protocol, and then we were going to up it to 20. I did 15 units for 2 days, and I just felt like it was too much side effects. So
yeah,
like I took a day off.
What were the side effects?
Like I just felt a lot of water around my heart. My feet were swollen. My hands were swollen. I could barely breathe. My neck was swollen.
That was the side effects, yeah, I'd say.
Yeah, so it was really, I was sleeping all day. Like I was just miserable. So I was like, you know, I need to lower the dose. So the next day I didn't take any, and then I felt better. And then Tony got me taking a diuretic, and then I felt a lot better. Just hydrochlorothiazide.
Right.
And I flushed all the water out, and I felt way better the next day. I could see my abs, and I felt like all the water retention was making me not hungry. It was making the food not
that definitely happens. That definitely will happen without a doubt.
Yeah. So I took it down to 10, and then I've been on 10 for 2 days, and I feel good on 10. I'm growing really well. Okay. I'm still up 20 pounds and maybe 10 units of growth, and 60 units of insulin. I don't feel like I need to triple it.
Now, are you worried because Cody's like in the lead a little bit at this point? And, I know you want that $5,000, right?
He's only a few pounds ahead of me, honestly. You know what I mean? And my whole thing is like, I want to beat him without really doing anything too insane. Like, I'm not willing to risk.
Too late, guys. Too late.
you can't pay me enough to take 30 units of growth hormone.
Well, it wasn't productive for you. That's why you're not doing it. I think, it was like an experimental phase. Hey, this worked, this didn't work, but I think the GH is not as relevant on such a short mass blast, as you guys are calling it.
But I'm only 3 pounds below Cody-ish right now in terms of gains, and I'm pretty dry because I've been taking a diuretic.
Nice.
So the last 3 days, I got a lot of space to blow up with water to potentially balloon past it.
Gotcha. Now, Tony, how much weight have you gained?
I started at 93 kilos. I was depleted though, and I weighed in. So I'm up to 102. So that's 9 kilos. I'm up to 225 pounds, which is like 18 pounds up or something like that.
Gotcha.
So I should come in with a solid 20 pounds when I maybe 20. Yeah, more than 20 pounds by the time this is done. Lose some of the water. I've got some bloat you can see in my face.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Not too bad.
I was hoping to get up to 230 pounds because that's what I was like. I was a really nice 230 pounds before I had Corona, right? So I was hoping to get back to that. And I think I will.
Now, are you concerned at all because of, the health problems we talked about on the last show with your heart?
Yeah. And exactly. So I also wanted to do this to test if my heart could handle it. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm going to have a problem with this, then I know I have to be careful forever. Right. If I can do this and I don't have a problem, then I don't have to be stressed all the time about it. Right. I don't want to live in fear of it, right? So far it's been pretty good, except for when the water retention gets really high. I feel that pressure again.
Yeah.
And I start getting the beginning of that feeling I was having before, and it makes me nervous.
Right.
I take a diuretic, and 4 hours later, okay, the pressure comes off. I feel better. Okay, so as long as I don't have the heavy water retention, I have too much water retention right now, but I'm going to take a diuretic after this also. Then I'm okay. So I think I have room to put on more mass before it's a burden on my heart.
Right.
And I think the lifting and the increase in size quickly is okay. It's just the water retention. I do start it feeling become a problem, which I can mitigate that with the diuretic.
And
I'm also on telmisartan.
Okay.
I think that's helping, and I'm on nebivolol, which helps a lot because when we're doing this mass blast, for some reason the heart it starts beating really fast, and maybe it's because of the amount of sugar in our blood, and our body's trying to get rid of the sugar, or maybe it's the increase in body size, or whatever. I'm not there. Maybe it's multiple factors, but nebivolol is really helpful.
Or the trenbolone.
Yeah.
The trend will make your heart beat faster for sure. It's definitely a central nervous system stimulant. What is the official diagnosis of your heart now? I mean, I don't know if you've gone for any more testing since we talked last.
The most recent thing I had was an MRI, and the MRI said everything was fine. Before that, I had the testing done saying I had mitral valve prolapse and regurgitation.
Okay.
And if you see on the echocardiogram, when my heart pumps, a lot of the blood that's supposed to go out of the heart comes back into the heart and swirls around. And I could actually feel that happening. It's like a heart murmur.
Right.
And I could feel it, and it makes you real nervous. It feels like the heart's just like decreasing in efficiency, and it's pumping, but like you're getting dizzy when you work out. So I think that feels like it's remedied now. But I also, since I know like when it gets worse and worse, I know how that feels.
Right.
Like as it starts getting towards that again, then I'm much more careful now.
Do they want to fix that valve, or what do they want to do? What's the doctors want to do?
No, not anymore. Originally, when they first diagnosed me, they said, you're going to need surgery, but you don't necessarily have to get it now. Right. You shouldn't be lifting heavy weights, and you probably don't need a surgery for 10 years, so long as you don't stress yourself.
Gotcha. All right.
But you're going to need a surgery eventually.
Yeah, Arnold had that valve replaced too. They told him the same thing. I think he knew that he had to get a valve replaced at some point, and he eventually, when he was older, went in and got it done. So
the way I recovered that is I just blasted with a bunch of healing peptides like the TB500, BPC157, I was on cabergoline at the time, which now I find cabergoline can actually remodel that part of the heart.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and I had a little bit of left ventricle hypertrophy. And so that was also putting pressure on the valve, I think. So like, I think I shrunk and relaxed my heart and the valve repaired, and it still leaks a little bit.
Sure.
There's still a little bit of a leak, but like before it was really noticeable.
Right.
And now it's, I'm not super worried about it.
Right.
And this blast will be my test. And then if I can make it through without having anything bad happen, I feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah. Oh, I hope nothing bad happens. All right. The challenge is great. I love the idea. $5,000 up for grabs. It's a very short challenge, so hopefully you guys will go back to a little bit of normalcy after the challenge is over, so we don't have any negative effects. But I want to ask you this question because a lot of people, have been talking about Big Ramy lately. He didn't show up in Pittsburgh for his guest posing. Jim Mannion even called me and said he never even got a phone call from the guy, which is kind of weird. Now, you had originally, we had you on the show about over a year ago when you had signed Ramy to a contract, and now I know he's not working for you anymore. What happened? Was there tell us what happened.
Ramy is a super celebrity in the Middle East. Like, in America, bodybuilders aren't even as much of a celebrity as Ramy is in the Middle East. So, like imagine Jay Cutler or Ronnie Coleman, but times 3, wow. Over there, or times 5, right? So his attention really isn't on the U.S. market. We thought that there was going to be more benefit, in bringing that influence into the U.S. market, and also getting into the Middle East market. Mm-hmm. But it just, his focus is on the Middle East, and it rightfully so. And, us as Americans, we think the whole world revolves around America. But the truth is, like, a lot of people outside of America that are doing really well don't really care about America that much. I'm not saying Ramy specifically, but like this group. And so I think Ramy has amazing opportunities in the Middle East. He's got awesome sponsors over there also in a lot of projects. And I think that's where his focus is at. His focus is just not really on America.
So you were basically paying him and he wasn't able to do anything, because I never saw him do anything as far as, drinking a shake or anything like that for you guys. So if there's no ROI on when you hire someone, then obviously it doesn't behoove you to continue paying him, I assume, right?
Yeah, I think more content is what the audience and everybody was hoping for.
Right.
Yeah, and he had some life things going on. He got married, got to his second wife, and right. So yeah, he has a lot going on. So he wasn't really doing much content for the American audience. He did show up to the expos, the India Expo, the Dubai Expo, and the Olympia Expo. And those went fantastic, and the fans loved him. And so that's really great. But the problem is, in the new day and age, Dave, these expos and stuff, you only meet 1,000 people. Right. But the internet is so big, and, if you're Mr. Olympia and you are putting content out, you're reaching millions of people.
Absolutely, 100%.
So going to expos isn't as valuable as it used to be, and doing content on the internet that's more leveraged and can reach a larger audience is more important. And that's why you see the influencers making the most amount of money aren't 100%. Like a professional athlete or something. It's the one who have the biggest following who put out the most content. Right. And I think that professional athletes and bodybuilders need to understand the new next chapter of that. And I feel bad, when any bodybuilder comes to me and they're like, hey, I'm this pro bodybuilder, but I'm like, I can't get good sponsorships. And I look at their Instagram profile, look at their YouTube. Right. I'm like, because you're not doing content. Like, that's the game now. Yes. It's content game.
Right. So, I mean, I guess what you're saying basically is that Ramy's got enough going on in the Middle East business-wise that he doesn't need to do the business of bodybuilding business, so to speak.
Right. And just that Americans expect, him or other people internationally to be giving more attention. And I do also, mm-hmm. But I understand now that he's got a bigger ROI outside of America than he does inside of America.
Personally, he does. Personally for himself, you mean?
Right.
Interesting. Right. Do you think that we will see Ramy defend his Olympia title? I mean, it seems like he's kind of like, he didn't show up in Pittsburgh. I mean, is he so distracted that he's not going to bodybuild anymore? Or do you think we'll see him on the stage again?
I don't know.
I mean, if you had to speculate.
No, I couldn't even speculate. I have not enough information to form an opinion.
I mean, were you when you had Ramy working for you, were you able to pick the phone up and call Ramy on the phone?
No.
So you weren't even dealing directly with Ramy?
No, because Ramy doesn't check his phone and communicate much in English and all that, and he always has, someone like communicating for him.
That's weird. Yeah. Very weird. Well, Tony, we love you on the show, and I love the challenge. It's called the Mass Blast Challenge, and we got how many days left now?
2 rest days, 3 blast days.
Right.
So we'll know the results in about 5 days.
5 days. When's the official weigh-in? What date?
Oh, I don't even know what day it is. We're in Pattaya, Thailand, where we don't really know what day it is. You guys are a day ahead of us.
I don't know what's going on.
Where will people be able to see the results of this final thing? Are you going to put it on your Instagram, on YouTube? Where is it available?
Let's put it. We'll put it as we'll put it on YouTube. Yeah, we'll that way people can see not just like here's the weight, because that's not that interesting, right? But like here's the physique, because we got a lot of video of their physique before, during, and after.
All right.
Yeah, Tony Huge Censored on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah. So why is it called Tony Huge Censored? Because you can't say what you want to say on that.
Yeah, exactly. Because my old YouTube channels used to be uncensored, and they all got censored. So okay, fine. Here's
how many YouTube channels have you had now? What is this, like number 10 by now?
Yeah, I mean, I've had so many Instagrams, Facebooks deleted, and this maybe I've had like 3 or 4 YouTube, maybe 4 YouTube channels deleted.
All right. Okay. Well, I like the challenge. We'll be looking forward to the results, and maybe if you guys want to come back on and with the winner and show us that physique, and we'll do the before and after reveal. How about that?
Okay, sounds good, Dave.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for today's Guru Talk Underground. I'm Dave Palumbo with Tony Huge, Elon, and Cody. We'll see you next week.